Hey there, Aaron here with Sandvik Law. I want to talk to you about the newest topic I've got in my blog, which is keeping yourself separate from your business. And we're talking specifically about the financial component here. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, most of us know that with a business, we want to start something like an LLC, right? It's a business entity that holds our business. Think of it like a lockbox where we put that business so that we can keep the stuff that's in the business protected from the outside. And if something with the business blows up, it doesn't flow over into our lives. The problem is if we don't treat that business separately, even though we've got an LLC, that LLC is not going to protect us. And this gets into some legal issues, but basically keep this phrase in mind: piercing the corporate veil, okay? At the end of the day, what this means is if you're not careful in how you manage your business, and specifically one of the biggest things is your finances, somebody can come in at some point in time, pierce the corporate veil, that thing that protects us, and get our personal money. Okay, there's a lot that goes into this, and I'm not going to talk about that right now, but just understand that that's an option for somebody who sues the business at some point in time. Okay, that's really why we want to keep our finances separate, because if we don't, we undermine the protection that that LLC is supposed to give us. Okay, so how do we do that? First and foremost, once you've got your LLC created, you need to create certain types of documents. And I'm also not going to talk about this in depth. This is work that I do for my clients, but you create membership agreements, there's a buy-sell agreement option, but you need to create banking resolutions, okay? This is a document that you as owner of your LLC sign that says that you have the authority to go to the bank and create a bank account for the LLC. This might seem confusing. You're like, I own the business, why do I have to do this? Trust me, it's something that banks want to have in their file. Okay, so you create the proper documents, you go to the bank, and you create a checking account for your bank or for your business. Now, I actually have multiple checking accounts for my business. I took this idea from a guy named Mike McAllowitz, who's got a book called Profits First. One of the things that he does is he talks about creating multiple checking accounts so that it's easier for you to keep track of stuff. Instead of one bank account with a ledger where you're trying to balance everything out, you got, for me anyway, like an income account. That's just money that comes into the business from whatever source. As an attorney, I've got a separate trust account, but money goes into the income account. When I go through that periodically, I take out a certain chunk for taxes, right? That's set aside into the tax account so that I can pay taxes out of that. I have a rough idea of how much I'm going to have to pay, and I just set that aside. I don't worry about it right then. It's just set there, so I don't have to come up with money at the end of the quarter or the end of the year or whatever. I've got a separate account for owner's compensation. I put some of the tax money in there periodically, but I also put money from income that goes into the owner's comp account, and that's what pays me through payroll. I pay myself as a W-2 employee. There's an operating account, right? And you can get more sophisticated with this just depending on the details of your business, but you get kind of the idea. I've got money that comes in, I got to pay the government, I got to pay bills in an operating account, and I got to pay myself at some point in time. Every business has at least these things that they need to use money for. But if you set these accounts up, or if you stick with one account and you just have a clean ledger, that works too. Either of these work, but what you're doing is you're creating the capacity to go back and recreate money flow. Money flowing into the business, doing things in the business, and then flowing out to either pay you as income or to pay somebody else that you're paying, an employee or a vendor, you know, if you're buying products or something like that. Keeping a good record is going to be the biggest thing in your life if the IRS comes knocking. Because at the end of the day, this is what we're concerned about. One of the primary things we're concerned about with keeping these things separate. So you keep those separate accounts, and then the way you pay yourself is important. I've done it in the past where I just take draws periodically, and that is appropriate in certain businesses. Not in every business, but in certain businesses it can be okay. It's not as great a system, I think, as paying yourself on a W-2 basis when your business is set up to do that. The basic reason is that it's very easy for accounting purposes. But additionally, something that people don't think about is when you have to establish income for credit purposes, having those W-2s is really helpful. If you hang your hat on Social Security, I know at my age that's uncertain, 20 something years from now, but Social Security is going to be determined based off of your W-2 status. So anyway, there are a variety of reasons why you might want to pay yourself as a W-2 employee. But whether you do owner draws, W-2, some combination of the both, you want to make sure that you've got records to substantiate this. Another thing to keep in mind is don't pay for personal items out of the business account and don't pay for business stuff out of your personal account, okay? Sometimes these lines are a little blurry. I'm sitting here looking at an iPad just off camera here. I bought with business money right before a family trip so that my kids could have a tablet to watch in the car because we were going to be in the car forever. Well, I spent business money for personal need, right? No, I bought that to have for the business. It just happens to be that for that 1 week period, my kids got to use this. It's sitting on my desk and I use it for business purposes, right? If you own a small business, you understand what I'm talking about. There are a lot of these expenses that we kind of benefit from personally, but you have to make sure that it's a legitimate business expense at the end of the day. A lot of people get into trouble because they're not careful with this stuff and they start charging a lot of personal expenses as business expenses. That's an audit risk. So don't do that. Make sure you talk to your accountant, bookkeeper, tax preparer, whoever it is you use or rely on to make those decisions. So these are just a few ideas and few tips for you to keep your personal life and your business life clean, clear, so you don't run the risk of being audited and penalized by the IRS, or again, having the corporate veil pierced if, heaven forbid, your business ever gets sued. If you got questions about this stuff, reach out. Love to talk about this stuff with you and answer any questions I can. Otherwise, take care.